Good morning or afternoon, I guess. How are you, Josh?
I am doing fantastic. It is Friday here in Florida, and it is like 70 degrees and beautiful.
Oh, dear Lord. It is 7 degrees Celsius in Calgary,
Ah.
so a little bit different, but we'll let that go. We'll let that go.
Don't get too jealous. It's not, it is gonna rain in a little bit, so
All right. I'll take that. Thank you for making me feel better.
yes. But thanks for having me on. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm so pumped, and I love the orange, very on brand.
I just bring in some Florida sunshine, you know?
I love that. So as we get started, I'd love to hear a little bit about you and your story, and then how the heck did you get involved with ShowAmi? Am I pronouncing that right? I kept practicing it and I think I still butchered it. Holy cow.
It's all good because I'll tell you what, we start every conversation, we're like, whatever you call us, whether it's shawarma, show ami, sugar mommy, we're here with that showing agent service. But show ami is the way to say it. We're literally
ShowAmi.
ami meaning friend or trust
Mm,
in different French languages, however you interpret it. And so we wanted to be that showing trust or showing friend.
I love
So,
that.
a little bit about me, my background. Hi, everybody. My name is Josh Kuchar. I am the head of marketing, sales, and partnerships here at ShowAmi. My background is in marketing. I started in senior living, worked my way through agencies, data, and I grew up with real estate as parents. So, it just felt natural that I knew actually the whole home selling process before I was like 12 years old because literally my dad was, it was like bring your kid to work day. And I
Every day.
yeah, I know, right?
I mean, I
And of
have
course,
little kids. I take them to work all the time.
well, he took me to his CRE classes. So like it's like he's like, so what did you learn today? I was like, that lady really didn't like it when people walk on the lawn for a home showing. So
Hey, good learnings, good learnings.
from like the age of 10, I was learning real estate, grew up in it, still do, now I've got Showami. So very,
Yeah.
very excited, and excited to be part of this podcast.
Yeah, I love it. And I love your enthusiasm and your experience because I feel like I'm talking to like my future, like my son in like, I don't know, 20 years or whatever. And he'll be like, my mom took me to a showing all Saturday. I miss soccer, like whatever. I'll be paying for some therapy, I'm sure.
Or it's that sick kid that's in the car.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
oh my gosh, we actually have a client here in Cape Coral, and she was telling the story how like she's like, oh, I had it scheduled for Showami to handle the showing, and yet she's like, her daughter goes, no, mom, I'm okay. I want to go show homes too.
Oh, that's so
Oh,
sweet. I love
you got that
that.
future with your boy.
I know, perfect. Okay, so it might be good. It might turn out okay. Okay, so Showami, have you been there since inception in 2016?
Yes. So most people don't know the background story of my story in
Mhm,
Showami is I was actually contracted to do all the marketing early on.
mhm.
So since I was in college, literally I was doing email marketing, doing Google, all this stuff. There was maybe a 1 year gap where Showami was like, okay, we need to hire a full on agency.
Yeah.
And then they did that and they're like, this sucked. So they came back to me. So that company kind of flopped on them.
Yeah.
And then fast
Those are
forward.
hard lessons, by the way. Like, I mean, I've had some swings and misses as well, and those are expensive, shitty lessons.
So exactly, and background is, my dad does own Showami. He is the owner of the company. My entire life, my entire existence in Showami, he was like, "I will never hire you full time, never hire you full time."
Thanks, Dad.
Yeah, exactly. He went, interviewed other people, hired
Oh
agencies,
my
did all
gosh.
these things, and then one day I'm at work with the best job. I mean, shoot, I kid you not, 4 p.m. every Friday we had happy hour, and I was not
So
allowed to
fun.
work outside of 5 p.m. Like like the ideal job. And he
Yeah.
comes, he's like, "We're gonna grab lunch." Offers me, he says, "I'm gonna give you an offer you can't refuse." And I was like, "Yeah, I can't refuse that offer, so I'm gonna have to
Yeah,
take it."
that's
And
awesome.
that's how I landed this.
That's so sweet. And I did read a little bit about the backstory and how it started, and it totally resonated with me. And I'm sure with any other realtor or real estate agent listening about being on the ski hill. So I'm a realtor as well in Panorama, BC, which is vacation property, beautiful skiing and mountain biking. And there are times where I am on the chairlift and I'm trying to deal with an offer, my hands are cold, or somebody wants to see something. And I'm like, oh, crud. Like, how am I going to make this happen? So, you know this story about your dad and how he thought about it, but do you want to share a little bit about that, and then we can get into the details of how the service works and a little bit more of it?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. So it's actually just like you explained. He's on the ski lift constantly and he's like texting, calling, doing all these
Oh
things.
gosh,
Nobody's
yeah.
picking it up. We've all, any real estate agent has been there. And so he said, there's got to be a better way, gets home, writes it all down. And I think part of, in the background, and he also tells more stories about how, like, we were, even you and I were talking before this.
Mhm.
I grew up in hockey and I was
I know,
always
which I'm
late.
still perplexed by because you're in Florida, but we'll leave that.
I was always late to games because my dad's a real estate agent, and that
Mhm.
one showing goes a little bit later than expected, or we had to miss something because of another showing. He had to put food on the table. You don't get it as a kid, you get it now. And I think that was
Totally.
also part of it. And that was part of our marketing plan, was to say, like, let's go hit those heartstrings a little bit more. Let's
Mhm.
talk to people and say, like, hey, look, you know, the rule of thumb is the minute you go on vacation, you're gonna get more business.
Oh
Well,
my
how do
gosh,
you
I
do that?
love that you said that. My husband says this all the time. He's like, "Okay, babe, we need to go on vacation because you are the busiest on vacation." And while I love and appreciate the sentiment, I'm also like, but that's no fun for me. Like I think I told you last week I was in Sedona with my
Mhm.
husband.
Yes.
We had a listing go live, was dealing with offers there. I had another property under contract. And so I worked a lot, but I mean, we did get a lot of hiking in, but I mean, you're like preaching my like love language right now.
That's so awesome. And it's not just, I love that you can connect with this,
Oh
because a
gosh.
lot of agents do. And anybody
Mhm.
listening to this podcast, if you've ever been in those situations, you 100% realize it. You
Yes.
sacrifice something in your day. And what is that money worth to sacrifice that time? And I think that's that connection that you end up making at the end of the day. And I love that. I love hearing stories like that. So thank you for telling me that story.
Yeah,
And
you can
continue
use
to,
that going forward.
I'm totally going to use that going forward.
Yeah. I love it.
And
So
when we're
let's
in Canada, you're going to be like, yes, he's finally here.
right. I know.
I'm taking a cruise
I'm
next week.
pumped that you guys are coming to Canada, but we'll get to that in a little bit. First, I
Yes.
want everybody to hear. So what is Show Me? We've alluded to it, but we haven't actually like
Oh, yeah.
we haven't teed it up for people yet. Like people still don't know. So what is it?
So ShowAmi is an on-demand showing agent service. We're compared to like the Uber of real estate.
Oh
So
my
we have,
God, that was what I was thinking last night. That's so funny. I love
in
it.
fact, if you Google Uber for real estate agents, we actually come up number one.
Really? Oh my gosh. Okay, I love
And
that.
whole other podcast episode, I can go into the Uber used to have Uber for real estate, but
No
it's not what
shit.
Showami does. And so what
Okay.
we do is we do home showings for agents when they're unavailable, when they're sick, when you don't want to drive 2 hours to show one property to one client, because that's
Guilty.
your
Guilty.
entire day. Why would
Yes,
you do that?
because there's no other options.
Boom. And then we
Yeah.
came along, we disrupted the game. We also made it so that, I think one of the other parts that people didn't realize, and I love this, is that we've got an agent that's literally licensed in 12 states. So he's figured out how to do business in 12
He's
states.
leveraged the platform to be every
You're talking next level agents are
Yeah.
sort of sitting there going like, okay, I have buyers in these and I could have referred that out. Or you know what? I still can refer that out, but
Mhm.
I would rather try one or two agents to see who fits my client best. And I
Yes.
love that touch that like says, hey, let's take this program and go another step further.
Mhm.
Things that we didn't ever think of when we first started the company. We
Yeah.
just thought, like you said, like if I'm on a ski lift, I just need help.
I just need help, and I don't want to give away the farm, you know?
No, you don't.
And
And that
it's
was
so affordable.
so true. It's for anybody listening, it's about 50, $60 per showing.
Mhm.
Like,
Reasonable.
totally
Totally reasonable.
Yep. So 50, $60 per showing. And it is per showing. And if you bulk show, you got like four showings all within 5 miles, 10 miles of each other.
Mhm.
You could definitely decrease that price per showing and just get a whole bulk. Some other things that, if you're listening and you're like, okay, maybe I'm not fully in the real estate game. If you're in property management, we do rental showings. We also have a platform, or we do work with real estate investment companies as well to help get what we call pre-listing walkthroughs. So what are
Mhm.
some things before this listing go live that I need to fix?
Yes, love that. That is so, so, so smart. Um, and then you also help with like setting up appraisers, somebody can go, or home inspections, as you mentioned. Like it's because
Open
some,
houses, inspection.
oh, I did see the open house thing. That is also neat. So how does the open house, is it similar $50 or is it a different? And I did see on your website, you sign, it is like Uber, you sign up the driver and you get paid very quickly after showing. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll go into the open house, right? So
Hmm.
your cost per open house is actually based on a time slot, however
Hmm.
long you need somebody to sit there. And I always, advise people to say, if you're going to have somebody sit there and you're the one who's asking for the leads that walk through the door that are unrepresented, you need to pay them
Yes.
per hour. Okay. But
Yeah.
if you're okay with that agent keeping the leads, you just need somebody to go hold an open house for you and they can keep them. You don't have to pay nearly as much per hour because for them, it's opportunity for lead generation. So
Love it.
definitely, I can't really put like a price per hour because
Yeah,
of,
no, that's totally fair. And it makes a lot of sense. And it's encouraging and enticing, right? Especially if you're a newer agent trying to get some experience or some clients. Like I think it's so good. And everybody's always looking for somebody to help do open houses.
I like that you said newer agents. We do get a lot of newer agents to the platform. And I don't want to scare people off by going, oh my gosh, a new agent's going to show. Sometimes it's an older agent that has moved.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a great example. Somebody moved from Nevada to Florida, and they're like, oh, so I can keep my business in Nevada, but I can also learn the Florida market by
Love
showing
it.
who's being paid to show. So
Yeah.
you can look at it and leverage the opportunity both ways for sure.
Well, and I think you like just touched on something about like it sounds like Showami emphasizes the importance of those like personal connections in real estate and helps create or facilitate relationships with other realtors
Mhm.
through tech, if that makes
Through
sense,
tech.
right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I
Uh,
have, there's definitely people that have developed referral relationships through Showami. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
You picked up 5 or 6 homes for one person and it's the same person. And eventually they're like, look, they like you. Let's
Mm-hmm.
just work out a referral deal. That doesn't
Yeah.
happen every showing. I don't want people thinking you're going to get a bunch of
No,
referrals
yeah.
off of us, but it happens.
But
So,
it does open up the door of possibility, which I think otherwise would not exist, right?
mhm, absolutely.
So here's like a non kind of like sexy question. Because you're like, is there any security pieces that you need that you've thought about or need to think about? Or how does that work to sort of like protect both agents and the clients, I guess, during this whole process?
Absolutely. So there is a non-solicit clause written into Showami. So
Okay.
you aren't allowed to, even you can't even hand out a business card to the
Okay.
person that you're showing the home to. So
Yeah.
once you've shown it, and that's a 3-year agreement, and we do our best to protect both sides for that reason. And on the showing agent side of things, we protect you by letting you know who you're meeting at the door. Are they an individual couple or family? Maybe you don't feel comfortable showing an individual home at 5:30 p.m. in downtown Denver, or
100%.
yeah, because
Stranger danger is a
it
thing,
literally
you know?
happens.
Yeah.
Certain times of days you don't want to show, or you don't feel
Mhm.
comfortable showing an individual this, that. However, so that's why we built that part in there. And we do ask if that person's already met the buyer. Another
Mhm.
security question. You know, maybe it's a new lead. I'm on vacation. I just can't handle it. I've had a call with them, but I haven't met them
Mhm.
in person. Just giving people that little bit of leeway to know that that's happening
Yeah.
gives them again that comfort and knowledge. So maybe you don't want to pick that showing up.
100%. I love that. And is it a notification type system like showing is available and then you
Yes.
click and accept? I'm now just looking at it like Uber.
Sure, sure. So the difference between, and I actually, I know it's funny, but I became an Uber driver to learn how we could grow
Ah,
Showami
I
because I
love
wanted to
this.
learn what they did.
This is
Right?
market research. I love it.
Exactly.
It's
What
great.
works and what doesn't work.
Mhm.
So Uber, you have to let Uber know, like, hey, I'm available to
Mhm.
do this. But with Showami, we said, that's great because those are live, this
Mhm.
isn't live. So we treat it more like an Instacart where you're going to
Ah,
get a
yes.
text message and a
Yeah.
push notification. You click the link, you see the details, and you
Yeah.
can choose to accept or not. And you'll see the location. You won't see exactly the names of the people you're meeting until you
Yeah.
pick it up, but you'll see if
Yeah.
they're individual, couple, family, what
Cool.
neighborhood, all that stuff.
Oh my gosh, I love it. That's brilliant, actually. Um, so how did it all kind of come together? Like, how has Showami been able to leverage the technology to kind of create this experience? And it seems very fluid. So, if you can speak to, and I'm sure you can't go into great detail about it, but yeah, I'm so curious about how, you've started to, did it start as a website? And now I know you have an app. Like, how did it come from, idea to where it is today?
So I always joke that it looks like when MapQuest became Maps, you know, like
Yes. Yeah.
MapQuest always was a website-based company, and then Google
Yes.
Maps came about, and kind of like that was the progression of what
Mm-hmm.
what that looks like. When we first started, yeah, we were only website,
Mm-hmm.
and it was only available in Denver, Colorado, where we started,
Yeah.
and it was a nightmare to start. It was not the easiest. You
I love
really
how honest you are. I really appreciate that.
because I remember my dad coming home and just be like, I think we just need to stop this thing. I was like, no, keep going. You got something here.
Yes.
We just have to figure out where the gaps
Yeah.
are. How do you get agents to sign up to show? How do you get them to use the system,
Mhm,
leverage and grow, 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 grow? How do we get to the hardest part was getting to other states and things like that.
mhm,
It really took just that leap of faith to just say, okay, we're going to, at the time, we're going to rank number one.
mhm.
And we were ranking, we started, Google, we created articles on being Uber for realtors because that's what people were searching.
Yes.
So we were getting
Okay.
signups in different states for people looking for our service. And I
Mhm.
think that's key is like be where people, if somebody's willing to search for your, and any prop tech company listening,
Mhm.
hey, if somebody's willing to
People in
search,
the back.
seriously, I can't preach this enough to other prop tech companies. If they're willing to search for your product, their wallet is in hand ready to pay. They have a
Mhm.
pain so much so that they're looking for help.
Yes.
That's what I tell people. I'm like, you gotta figure that out. You gotta get
Yeah.
on search because you need to be the solution when somebody's looking.
Mhm.
So we went with that approach. That's been growing us nonstop. So we get thousands of searches, honestly, probably a week
That's
just from
awesome.
Google alone. And then
Yeah.
we started ranking for showing agents and then
Mhm.
everything in showing. And that's how we sort of progressed and grew.
Mhm.
And RE Colorado, the MLS in Colorado, decided they're gonna like take the risk and pick us up and
Oh my gosh, congratulations. That's so awesome.
at no cost. And we were like, our minds were blown. Later on, like we
Yes.
did our best to like, go back and say, hey, here's some cash because we appreciate you.
Yeah, oh
So
my goodness, of course.
it was insane.
Yeah.
So
And it just
because
makes it so much easier for everyone, right? Like
so
it
much easier.
allows you to help the agents and it's good for them because I mean, they're in the real estate business too. It just seems like a no-brainer.
Seems like a no-brainer. And I
Yeah.
tell you what, like it's sad but true that COVID just 10x to the business too.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You're out sick, you're tested positive, but
Yeah.
and it was the hottest time for homes. Everybody had to go see a home immediately.
Oh gosh, because they were
Rates were
selling like
so
before they
low.
even hit the market sometimes.
And
Yeah.
so if you were sick for 2 weeks, you've lost like half your income for the year. Like that's how it
Yeah.
felt.
Yeah.
So people were like, okay, I could use Showami. So it was just blew up during that time. And
That's
since then,
fantastic.
it's just become people's business model.
I love that. And does it integrate with any other sort of real estate tech companies like Showing Time or whatever so that I don't know, like does it integrate with any other real estate platforms or not
I
yet, maybe
think
in the future?
fully independent.
Yeah,
We've got companies that we partner with and do cross promotion stuff with,
cool.
because maybe they fit a sector that we don't.
Yeah.
But at this time, we don't actually integrate with anybody on
Anyone
that front.
else? Yeah, no. Maybe in the future, who knows? And I
No,
guess with
we actually, those kind of talks have definitely happened. So
Yeah.
scheduling services have definitely had those conversations. We as a company, we've figured out that we have to, and this is all for prop
Hmm.
tech companies, good to know.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, there's a rule that you cannot be both a scheduling service and a showing distribution service in the
Oh gosh, no
like half
way.
the MLSs in the US. So
Huh.
there's like these weird rules like that. So we have to, navigate as we talked about earlier. Like
Yeah.
we talked about Canada being hard sometimes. Like sometimes even the US has these rules that just kind of prevent you from doing certain partnerships and different things. So
Yeah, I guess like as you expand to each state or eventually and kind of coming into Canada, there's different jurisdictions, different rules that you're trying to navigate and see how you can best serve your clients, but also
100%.
make it make sense.
Yes. Yes.
Gosh,
And any prop
not
tech company, you're going to run into this. Like I just
yes.
told you now.
Yeah, that's cool though. It's like it feels like you're like living it and breathing it, and you sound like you're very on the pulse for like very evolving trends or expansion. So do you want to speak a little bit to that? Like how do you adapt and how are you choosing which sectors to go into next?
Sure. So we listen to our clients. I think
I
honestly
love
that's
it.
that's the first thing that we have to do.
Hmm.
Um, People were, believe it or not, complaining that there were rental showings in ShowAmi. And we were like, okay, so why don't we just create a whole rental platform in ShowAmi? This just makes
Yes.
we're like, duh. People are using us for open houses. Let's create an open house. Let's make it easier on them. And then let's
Yes.
advertise it so that others know that this is available.
Hmm.
So I think step one was learn from your customers. Like
Hmm.
that was the first thing.
Which
Two,
is so novel, but like so, do you know what I
I,
mean? But it makes
I
such a big
know.
impact.
They're
Like,
like, gosh, what's this amazing epiphany thing? Well, I think the
yes,
first thing you do is listen to your customers. It's like, oh, it's
I
not,
love it.
it's a no-brainer, but I think a lot when we first started, a lot of things that we didn't do is we didn't listen. We put out,
Mm,
we eventually, like last year I remember us putting out a survey, and out of that survey, I would say half of the number one things that were on that survey, we've already put out there because we realized that, oh, well, this is what you wanted. We're
mhm.
gonna get it out there for you. So
Holy Toledo. Honestly, that just is, it's so simple and so brilliant all at the same time. You're like, no, I asked and then I did it.
yeah,
It's,
exactly. People will tell you what they think of you.
oh, I
I
love
I
it.
freaking I love it. I could go in a booth and listen to people talk to me about what their headaches are,
Mhm,
what issues do they have with Showami all day long.
mhm,
I ironically like, I run Matt's LinkedIn account, the owner of the company, and I literally put out a post that this woman literally came to our booth and said, lazy agents use Showami. So I was like, you're right. They are. You're so stinking right because they learn to leverage their time to do more business. Like, and then we used that quote, which
yeah.
was, sometimes the laziest employees make the best ones because they find out how to do the work with less effort.
Oh, love.
And as you can sit there and talk to people in the booth, and when they don't realize what you have, and when they
Hmm.
make comments like that, you're kind of like, you're right. That's
Hmm.
what makes us awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
you're
But also
giving me a
conversely,
compliment
like,
with the
right?
dissing me. It's awesome. I love that.
But also, like, conversely, like, high performing agents can't be in five places at once.
No,
So if you don't have a team and you're not looking to have a team, or you want to have a life, or you're a mom or dad or whatever, do you know what I mean? Like,
100%.
I don't
Mom,
know. This seems like a good fit.
and touching up on the mom life stuff, we had an agent, literally, she told her own story of being a
Mhm.
mom of two young boys, single mom, and she put this in a Women's of Real Estate Agent group. And over 140 moms joined Show On Me within 48 hours of her post.
Mhm.
And I was
Yes.
like blown away.
The
And she,
mommy market, let me tell you, Stanley
100
realized how to tap into it. Showami needs to figure that out. And I think you're well on your way.
oh yes. Oh my gosh. And I love it. We have a video testimonial. Stacy did this great testimonial video. She's a mom of two young boys. She says she doesn't show homes after 6 p.m. Showami handles that. If she
Mhm.
has a tournament for her boys, ShowAmi handles that. If, she's away on the
I
weekends,
need you in Calgary, okay? Please.
ShowAmi handles that. Because I'm a mom and I'm
Mhm.
living my mom life.
Yes, it is so freaking true. Like, I mean, again, this really speaks to me because I'm a mom and I'm a busy mom and I want to be there for my kids. Like, part of leaving corporate life was to spend more time with my family. So, sometimes I get caught up into the working part and then I forget why I left corporate and I have to dial back the workaholism and then, recalibrate. But like this fits. Like, it makes sense. It makes complete sense.
It does. And that's why we're here. That's what we do. That's what we talk about. And there's all these use cases for us. We see anything, like I said, like we've been talking about, anything from pre-listing walkthroughs to rental showings to being on vacation, being sick. Our goal is to just allow your business to continue. And I think that's just key. Like even without, you always having to open the door. I think
Mhm.
a lot of people still have, and the number one thing is people still got to realize you're in a relationship with your buyers. So still
Yes.
have that. Still do the
Yes.
first one or two showings. It's when it comes to three, four, 10, and
Yeah, right?
it's
Yeah.
a 2 hour drive, they're still your clients. We're
It's
just
such
here
a
to,
relationship
you know.
business, right? Like, so I'm a firm believer in the golden rule. So, like, do
Mhm.
unto others as you would like done unto yourself. Like, just like really care for your clients and like make them a part of your sphere. Like, they're your people. So be there and answer their questions and stuff. But stuff happens,
Yes.
like
Yes.
you also have a life outside of the realtor world that you live. So,
Yes.
right?
Yes. I, I
um,
I think the genius agents will like have the scheduled showing and they know when it is, and
mhm,
they'll have like, I don't know if you've got a Samsung phone or not, but anybody with an Android, you can schedule text messages on. And what they're
mhm,
doing is they'll schedule the follow-up text message.
mhm.
Hey, how did the showing go?
Yeah.
You may be freaking 20, 30 miles away on a boat cruise, or
I'm
I
in
might
Florida on my
visit
Disney
Canada and
cruise.
my business is in Canada, or
Yeah.
my business is in Florida and I'm visiting Canada. And I would love to have that idea that, people, it's a relationship business. You should follow
Mhm,
up. The best way to do so sometimes is just schedule that text afterward.
yeah.
Get that little bit of,
Mhm.
personal piece in there.
Personal piece for sure. Okay, so I love this. And you've been around enough to see
Yes.
different market fluctuations. So has there like can you explain a little bit of what you've seen on your end and how you've addressed some challenges? Like sometimes the market is so hot, like we mentioned, where you're like, I can't be in 10 places at once. Or sometimes it's a bit slower and you're maybe a listing agent and things aren't moving. So maybe or maybe not. Like, how has Showami addressed this or, ebbed and flowed as the real market has, it's a volatile.
Sure. So I would say what we experienced last year in the US market, where a lot of people were down 30% on transactions year over year, right? You just came off of 2 incredible years of real estate.
Yeah.
And last year, not only did every time I'm talking to clients, any brokerages, they're sitting there going, oh, wow, we increased our agent count by 10%, but man, did our transactions drop.
Yes.
Right? And then how does that affect the Showami world, right? So we start
Hmm.
seeing less need for last minute help. We see less, nobody's eager to go directly to buy the homes. We see a down point. So that's where we pivoted and said, okay, when real estate is down, transactions are down, technically the rental market goes up.
Yes. So you've
So
you've
as a
balanced the
company,
risk.
we
Yeah.
balance the risk.
I love
So
that.
I'm sure as a risk assessor, you're sitting there like, oh wow,
Brilliant.
there
Makes
they
sense.
thought of how to do it. And that's exactly what we did. So
Yeah.
we were growing year over year in a
Mhm.
market that was down 30%. We were like,
Mhm.
dang,
Yeah.
wow, we still grew 10% year over year. This is awesome. And this year I can't even say the numbers because
Yeah,
I
it's
jinx
fine.
how well it's
Ah,
going.
I love that for you. Knock on wood. I'm gonna like knock on
Thanks.
wood for you.
Yeah. And so when I'm talking to the agents, we're figuring out, what does life look like now? And what does life look like with these, even with the lawsuits going on? I think the
Yes.
most innovative people, and I'm going to give you some insight into this because I think if you're an audience member, I want you to have value in listening to this 100% with what's going on with the lawsuits and how people are handling it. So this broker and her agent come up to our booth during one of our big conferences, and she's like, hey, I have a listing. I need help with a showing. I don't want to do dual agency. This is
Yes.
a Missouri agent, right? So
Mm-hmm.
they're the ones who got hit by the US lawsuit first. And they're like,
Mm,
I cannot do dual agencies, not even allowed in my state,
yeah.
but this wants to go who wants us to represent, unrepresent. And so she goes, can I just use a showing agent? And if this buyer wants to represent themselves, great. If the showing agent wants it, can I do it as a referral? I was like, yeah. She's like,
Yeah.
well, she goes like, she's thinking about this and she goes, I could technically just give it to him to just do the transaction for
Yeah.
me on the buyer side.
Yes.
So I'm just going to hire you to be my contract writer and my showing agent. So if they like you, you get to write the contract. And I was like, so she's like thinking 5 steps ahead of everybody else in her area because nobody else has approached me with that. And I was
Yeah.
sitting there, do it. That's
Mm-hmm.
You're way ahead of what
Mm-hmm.
everybody else is thinking. And so
Yeah.
now I'm seeing that that's become way more popular. So what are we seeing on the ShowAmi side? We're seeing more of the listing agents start utilizing the showing service
Mm-hmm.
instead of the buyers are using it. And then came the other shift. So now buyers are saying, okay, with the commission lawsuits the way they are, let me change how I offer my business. So they're
Mm-hmm.
creating these a la carte. For 1%, I will do this and I will show you
Mm.
3 homes and everything else you have to pay me to pay to go use ShowAmi to show the house. 2%, I'll show you 10 homes and I'll do XYZ. And then after 10, ShowAmi goes and shows the house and you pay per showing.
No
And
way.
they're willing to do these things because they're like, okay, well, I have the option of not being represented.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I could go without, but having these a la carte options, I understand that this agent is providing XYZ value up front to me. I
Mm-hmm.
know the value, I see it, it's in paper, and I know that after a certain point, I'll be expected to pay for certain things. So
I like I'm
I can't, you're like sitting there going like, I've never heard anybody do these things before.
well, it is just so smart. And so I'm licensed in 2 provinces, and one province, you can't represent both sides.
Sure.
So BC, you cannot do that. And this is just like the answer to the prayers. And honestly, I had somebody call me, I don't know, like a month ago, times whatever. And they wanted, previous client, lovely, great,
Uh-huh.
lawyer, wanted to negotiate the buy commission
Uh-huh.
because they're like, oh, we've already seen it. We did an open house. Like, so to me, there was a few light bulb moments. A, you don't know all the other aspects that go in to a transaction. And B, like I'm not willing to do that, but I connected them to someone else. But a service like this, I'd be like, hey, here you go. This is perfect. You can do an a la carte type something, whatever you want to do, whatever, choose your adventure kind of thing. That's what
But
I'm hearing, right?
buy before you buy.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be knock on wood, that's sort of the future of where
Mm-hmm.
things are going to go is okay, I don't have to get into this buyer's representation. I would like to just see the home with a couple of agents and pick who I want to work with
Mm-hmm.
instead of just being locked in.
Yeah, and that is like it's like dating. I always call it
Mhm.
it's like real estate's like dating. You're dating your agent, but sometimes you maybe like accept the engagement ring too fast. Like you only went on a couple dates, they seemed okay, but as you get going, you're like, ah, dang it, and you see somebody else who like maybe is a bit funnier or a little bit more fun, and you're like, oh, now I'm getting married and I can't get out of this. It's too complicated. I don't want to have the awkward conversation. Ah,
Mhm.
love
Because it's a
it.
relationship business.
It is a relation, and
Like
I don't think that's ever
full
going to
circle.
change,
No, it's never going to
right?
change.
That's
That's
one part that won't change.
And the more that you are who you are in your marketing, in any efforts as a real estate agent, the better you're going to attract the right people, the people that you want to attract.
I 1000% agree with you there as well. I have a question that just popped in my head when you were talking about like be who you are. And as I told you, I kind of expected, I knew who I was going to get because I was watching the YouTubes and doing the thing. Orange. I love the orange blazer. It's very on brand. Who came up with the orange, or where did the orange come from? Were you just trying to stand out, or?
So, so we paid a godly amount of money for a real estate conference a long time ago.
Yeah.
And, we all had this war room. We're like, hey, we got to do something to stand out in this.
Hmm.
And I was like, kind of doing all this homework, like, okay, what could we do? We could do this. I was like,
Hmm.
why don't we wear orange suits? So
Yeah.
this was all me. I was like,
I
let's do
love it. Your
that.
marketing hat was
Yeah,
on.
I have my marketing hats on. I'm like thinking all swag, and I was thinking this, and I was like, no,
Mhm.
that stuff doesn't stick. I want to be a
It's not
walking
sticky.
billboard.
Yes, love
And
it.
to this day, we are what we call walking billboards.
Love
So
it.
any conference, I've walked by agents that I know, some I don't know. And if I walk by and somebody's like, nice orange suit, it's like, thanks. Somebody next to him is like, do you know who that guy is?
You're
That's
like,
Josh
no.
Kuchar. He's like, who's
Oh,
that guy? He's like,
that's
yes.
so funny.
Um,
Have you read The Purple Cow?
yeah. Oh God, no, I haven't. No, I know of it
Yeah,
because
yeah.
my first boss told me to read it, and I didn't. Instead, he
Sorry,
had me
boss.
read the other ones. So I read the other ones, which is very
Cool.
similar.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, very cool. Because I'm like, you're a purple cow. I love it.
yes.
You're like a
Uh,
walking purple cow, but you're orange.
best best story is that exact conference. So we had been sending out emails probably like 4 or 5 weeks in advance saying we're going to this conference.
Mhm.
We had our orange suit in the emails, and this woman, I'm standing in line for breakfast. This woman comes up to me and she goes, "Hey, guess what?" And I was like, I have no idea who this person is. What? She's like, "I brought an orange dress just to take a photo with you." She's like, "You're the guy from the ShowAmi photos." I was like, okay, I'm on to something. I'm gonna stick with the orange
Yes.
suits from here on out. The subliminal messaging is working to this
Yeah.
day. We can't. I. It's to the point where the end consumer knows who I am.
Mhm. I
Like
love it.
your buyers know who Showami is when the orange suit comes on.
It's so sweet though. It's so smart because it takes people like they have to see the same message or the same colors or the same, they have to be exposed. Like I forget, you may know this, but like 4, 5, 6 times, I don't know what it is, but like a number of times. So you can't just wear it once and be like, here we
No,
are,
no.
like I love it.
And it's all and we always try to go within with the mindset that says, what's something nobody else is gonna do?
Yes,
Let's
love
take a
it.
strategy that somebody else it has no guts to try. And
Mm-hmm.
I kid you not, I have prop tech companies like, oh, I'll do the same thing, but with my color. I still see them 2 years later. They still haven't done it because they don't have the guts to do it. And it's awesome.
Mm-hmm. It is like, it does take a lot of courage for like, because I'm gonna use kids. Like, it takes courage to be like a little bit different, right?
Mhm.
Because you're an easy target then. But if it sounds like you're so great about it. You're like, I don't care, man. Like, I'm doing me, you do you. I'm in my orange suit and it's working and we're gaining traction and we're expanding and like laugh at me in a couple years or laugh at me now, like we'll see who has the last laugh.
Oh my gosh. I remember like my wife, her boss literally is like, orange suit guys here. Like I come into the office and that's what I'm known for.
Oh my gosh. That's
Oh,
funny. You're like, shut up.
like any company I walk into, anywhere, it's just gotten to be known and it's so much fun. Honestly, we just kind of leaned into it.
But
So
you need
thanks
to
for
have
bringing
fun.
that up. I love
Yeah.
I love telling that story. I love hearing, and I think it's a good marketing note. That I
A
think too
thousand
often
percent.
people don't stand out. They
I
just
know.
don't. They're afraid, and
Yeah.
it's not the goal. Especially if you're a realtor, like stand out.
Well, there's like a
Do something.
gazillion of us. Um, but it kind of like plays into what I feel like. I feel like I know what it would be like to work there. Do you know what I mean? Or like what the culture would be or what happy hour looks like, because it's just like there's so much like fun and personality like oozing. And I think that seeps into your product. I don't know. Am I right?
It's
Or out to lunch?
Yes, that's actually very true. When people see us walking around, they kind of know what they're getting into with
A hundred
conversation.
percent. Yeah.
Like if I stop and talk to that guy, he's gonna do something like he's gonna say something interesting, something
Mhm.
out of the blue. We're very, I think one of the unique things is if you talk to Matt or myself, we're the only two that really actually have show face in the company. So you'll only
Mhm.
really ever see the two of us do anything talking wise. And if you ever go to a conference with us and have those conversations, you'll realize we're very open book.
Mhm. I
Like you
love
can
that
ask
though.
us these questions.
Transparency is so freaking breath of fresh air,
Yeah, like
right?
it's crazy. There's very few things that I'm like, yeah, that's transaction numbers we can't really go into too often, but we're like, we've still
Yeah.
completed over 270,000 showings and have over
Mhm.
125,000 agents.
Yeah, that's wild. Those are some wild, like great stats. And only going up,
Only going.
especially, right? Let's talk about your map. The map that we talked about
Yes,
pre-recording, because I also think that that's neat because my question was, well, are you in Canada or well, what's the Canada? And you're like, oh, let me just pull up the map. And I was like, what? There's a map? That's awesome. So you can kind of see where people are hearing about you and where are they hearing about you?
sure.
Conferences.
So every we have all 50 states.
Mhm.
We allow agents to refer other agents to Showami. So
The
there's this
10 for 10.
10 for 10 deal. Exactly. Man, you really did your homework. I love it.
Yeah,
It also means I did my job and make sure people
yeah.
can see that.
Yeah, right? Like tap a pat on both of our backs there.
I love it. Yes, the 10 for 10. That's an amazing way that agents are spreading us throughout. I think and honestly, it's funny. Our number one client, uh, they ended up so our number one client for a long time was Rex. And we can actually share that information because anybody who was on Show at that time was seeing an ungodly amount of requests come from Rex. Well,
Sorry,
when
what's Rex?
so Rex was a home buying platform that did not
Mm.
utilize the MLS for transactions.
Ah, I see, I see. Okay, okay.
So what happened was then they ended up getting in a lawsuit, and because that was they're in some random antitrust with the MLS because they were doing off-market homes, all these things.
Got you.
And so what happened was this major company with billions of dollars, all of their people ended up loving Showami and left. So we lost our biggest client, but gained 20 bigger clients on the lead.
Whoa.
And then when the
Okay.
transactions started coming through, that's when people are like, oh, I'm getting this request for Showami. This is cool. So
Mhm.
now that I'm getting requests, I'm going to share this with other people so I can get more. And it kind of grew from there. And so we get this snowball effect. I would say it's awesome that we have people literally signing up in Canada. We actually did a podcast again with, oh gosh, this was probably 2, 3 years ago. Matt did a podcast with a guy who runs a financial group out of Canada, and he utilizes us because he has
Mhm.
dual, what's it,
License.
agency both or licenses,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Mhm.
he can do a license in Canada and license in the US, and he was able to keep his US business running through Showami. So um,
That's so cool.
that's what we're seeing with the Canada market so far.
Mhm.
But we also see people like, just get here. I literally
I
had somebody
know.
who was like, I have money to slap down on you coming here. Like
Mhm.
they're like, can we invest in you being in Canada? I'll run the company. We'll
Yeah.
franchise out these things. So sorry, we're not going to be franchising out. We thought we were, but we're doing all the amount of legalities you guys to give you an idea. If you're a prop tech company looking to move into different states, you actually have to redevelop a whole new website. Well, so it has to be like a .ca. We would have to do all legal stuff. So we have to rerun all legal, and on top of that we also potentially have to run a whole new app. So we'd have to do two new builds. And so the amount of money to do two new builds is like well over $100,000. So you're
Yeah.
crazy, crazy stuff. And believe it or not, there was a company in Canada doing what we do. They were a
What?
college project I learned
Hmm.
about. They were a college project that lasted about like 6 months, gained like 200 agent traction, and then just couldn't take off. So
Hmm.
it's a bummer,
Interesting. Yeah.
but
Maybe call the kids up. Bring them on
That's,
board.
I know, right? Buy them out, just figure it, figure what their weaknesses were. But
Yeah.
it was cool to see that. I like seeing
Hmm.
stories like that because it gives us hope that,
Hmm.
hey, somebody else was doing this. They probably ran out of capital. Like, we're
Hmm.
self-funded. Another fun fact.
You're
We don't
self-funded, you said.
100% self-funded
Wow.
company.
Yeah.
So a
That's
lot of people,
great.
they're like, how did you get this big and be self-funded? That's
Yeah.
so
Yeah. That
yeah.
congratulations. That is like really hard.
Which also makes it really hard to get into any other country when you're self-funded.
That's
So
fair.
we're figuring out how we can bring potential investors to get us into other countries. We
Hmm.
don't just have Canada on the board. We've been invited to get into other countries. Specifically, New Zealand has been inviting us nonstop.
Yeah.
Ironically, I kid you, this is a funny story. When our first conference, this guy from New Zealand comes up, meets with us. Next day, he brings his developer, meets the developer. Next day, comes back. His developer goes like, "I can't copy you guys." So literally, he was trying to copy the code for ShowAmi and replicate it immediately. I was like, first of all, that's illegal. You can't do that. That's a licensing issue. He's like, oh no, we were going to go with the lawsuit and literally be okay with losing the lawsuit to you guys to have the technology to run it. Isn't that crazy? Like, it was the one conference and the guy admitted to trying to like copy the company.
Dear Lord. Okay, like I am rarely rendered speechless, and you've done that twice in this conversation. So like, holy, that's audacious.
It was audacious. I can't believe, I still to this day, I'm always like, that's such a weird conversation we had. But it goes to show people know what
They
the
see the
demand,
value. Yeah.
they, you know, all, we got a lot of requests for Canada. We unfortunately do have to turn them away until we're there fully.
Hmm.
Again, it's not your guys' fault. We're just taking our
Yeah.
time to get there, doing it right. Because the last thing we want is to get there and then get our butts kicked out. So,
100%. I think that makes complete sense.
so it's
So
definitely
no timing yet then, like yeah. But we're at least we're on the board. I'll take that.
you are, and you're next on the board. You're literally the next on the board. So
Yeah.
I'm excited because when I go there, I'll come visit you. We're gonna hang
Perfect.
out, have more beers, talk about
Exactly.
your risk management company and how we can help out, all the
Yeah.
things. Your real
Yeah.
estate company.
Yeah, I'll scare you with all of my risk stuff. You're like, listen, can you just stop raining on my parade? You're kind of a Debbie Downer. No, I look forward to you coming to Canada. I'll take you for some happy hour beers.
Let's do it. Definitely would be fun.
All right. So I'm so curious because you're so honest and transparent. What advice would you give to any aspiring entrepreneurs that are looking to innovate within the real estate or technology space, based on like, it's a little over a decade. So you've seen a lot. Like, what would be your words of encouragement or lessons learned that you would share?
Oh, for sure. So many lessons learned. Number one, um,
PTSD, maybe.
uh, be humble. I think
Love
that's
it.
the first thing. I see too many guys go into the booths and they don't listen. Somebody
Hmm.
comes up, they give in, different piece of advice, and they don't listen one bit. They take it in one ear, water it out the other. Even when they're talking to other prop tech companies, right? Like
Hmm.
there's companies that are like, "Hey, Josh, help me out," and I give them like, here's your next two steps, and
Yeah.
they're like, "I'm not doing that." I'm like, "It's
Oh
your fault."
my goodness, why?
They're some it's because they're afraid, or
Yeah.
two, they're prideful, right? Like I've
Mm.
always gotten my leads from
Pride kills
this, so
everyone.
always going to get my leads from this,
Hmm.
and they're so fearful of trying something new
Hmm.
that they can't get over that. And it's again, it's not always fear, but I think it's leads back to humility. Humility, kind of brings back that fear, the pride. Well,
Hmm.
I'm going to lose out. I know best.
Oh
So
goodness,
I'd
yeah.
say if you're getting into it, you're starting out, be humble first. Two, and part of that humility is learn from your clients. We talked about it earlier, guys.
Hmm.
This is huge. You have to talk to them, have to do surveys, ask the questions, ask the high-end users what other use cases are potential. We have had those conversations with a lot of users, and they're always willing to give you those feedback. They're never going to say, no, I don't want your product being better. Like, that's stupid.
Right?
They're not going to do that.
Yeah.
Um, and then I would say, my third approach or thing to watch out for is I always advise doing at least one trade show, one or two trade shows, and then be careful doing more trade shows going forward. They're very expensive to do.
Hmm.
But if you go with the right approach, that you're doing market research to talk to people and
Yeah.
learn who's using your product, where they're using it, how they're using it, and what other aspects maybe you shouldn't do, that's going to be better at the start of your company. And then once you start growing your clientele, you don't have to go to as many because they are way too expensive to be doing it. And
Yeah.
and we have a rule at ShowAmi, like we do not do booths or anything unless the dollar per head is exactly the one that we want. So we look
Oh.
at it and say, if it's $5 per head or less, okay, we're interested and we
Hmm.
need to learn more. If you're going to charge me $10,000 to talk to 500 agents, go walk away. I'm
Yeah.
not going to do it because and that's our approach. That's not
Hmm.
everybody's approach. If you're a CRM company and your cost per acquisition is higher,
Hmm.
then move your margin from what we're doing to what you need to do. But our cost per acquisition is $5 per person. So that's how we look at it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's brilliant. I love that.
It's how
Uh,
you prevent yourself from wasting money. I think
oh.
that's key. And create raving fans, leverage them. They're awesome.
Hmm. Yeah, I like that. Well, when you come to Canada, you can bring me an orange suit jacket and I will race. Well, and also bring the service, please.
Yes. Bring the service, right? That's
Bring
like
the
first.
service. Yeah.
You're like, I want a vacation.
I know. Oh
I
my
need
gosh.
help.
Without I call it my blankie, my phone and my
Uh,
laptop. We refer to them in my home as my blankie, and I don't go anywhere without my blankie, which is so sad.
how old's
Uh,
your son?
my little dude, he is 7, and I have a daughter who's almost 6.
Got it. Very, very
Yeah, so they're busy. We're in all of the activities right now. Yeah,
yes. But that's a fun age.
it's super fun. Yeah, it's busy but fun for sure.
Absolutely.
Okay, this will be my final question, and I love asking people this, and this is pure selfish question.
Do it.
If you have one book that you would share with the audience that you're like, this is a must read, it's been helpful. It doesn't have to be business, whatever it might be to you. If there's one that like stands out and you're like, I would recommend this. What would that be?
So especially for any entrepreneurs, anybody that's listening to this podcast, this is going to fit you perfectly.
Mhm.
The book Pitch Anything.
Oh, cool. I've not heard of this one. All right.
Yes. So the art of being able to not only pitch, but have quality conversations with
Mm-hmm.
your target audience. I think that's
Yes.
key. So
Cool.
being
I love that.
silent enough to listen to the problems they're not telling you, different things like that. He goes through pitching, how to frame shift, how to have a conversation. I know that you knew what you were getting into when you were going to talk to me. You're going to get the high energy, Josh.
Yeah, I love it.
Part
You're
of
my
that,
people.
it's part of the book, right? It's
Yeah.
setting that frame of mind. It's being, I want to make sure that this is as entertaining and
Hmm.
useful as possible. I will always throw a joke in there or a random story that truly pertains, but also keep it quick.
Like, yeah. Oh my
Yep.
goodness, I love that. I'm gonna add that to my Amazon book collection, I guess, which I need to stop having so many books delivered and just go Audible.
I got
Well,
excited when Spotify started allowing books, and now they're doing free ones on if you have platinum.
what? Did not know. First of all, what's platinum? I paid Spotify. Is that the same? Like, I have no idea. God, this is embarrassing. I'm a dinosaur.
Yeah. So platinum is for your whole family. So
Oh,
my
okay,
wife and
gotcha.
I think my dad actually leeches on my account. My
How dare
sisters.
you, Dad?
So we buy it. It's awesome. It's like 11 something a month. So
Cool.
for multiple accounts so that I didn't have to stop. She didn't have to stop listening at the same time and share an account.
Hmm.
Uh, And then now I have audiobooks.
Sweet.
So
I mean, that makes sense
I'm
for me. I'm in my car all the time, so.
listening to Millionaire Mindset right now. So it's
Oh,
awesome.
good one. All right, I'll add that one too.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much. Honestly, this has been very high energy and I feed off people's energy. And while this is virtual, I feel like you're like sitting beside me and we are having that beer. So I can't wait to meet you in
Yes.
real life.
I love it. Thank you so much, Amy. This has been awesome. I love
Yeah,
this. Your energy is definitely continually feeding my energy even more.
fantastic. Well, I love that because that means that it's very like
It's natural.
it's
It's
natural
just
and
the
fun.
conversation we would have had. You would have been sitting down at a bar. We'd be drinking Molson
There you
and,
go. Molson. Okay, if I serve you Molson, please just get up and walk away. No, just kidding. I shouldn't say that.
as I said, I have a hockey background. That's the beer
That's
that we
true.
can get here. That's cheap from
Yeah.
Canada. I know, trust me, if you got microbreweries, please send me there.
We'll do
Oh,
that. We'll do that for sure. Awesome. Well, thank you again. I really appreciate you taking your time and sharing about Showami. And it was truly awesome. Thank you.
thank you. Thank you for having me.
Okie dokie. I'm gonna stop recording. But this was fun. Seriously, thanks. That was so like great.